I'm Allie's mom, Shelly. In a few weeks, there's going to be a series released called Allie, All of Us. You're going to see some things in there that are probably going to shock you. You're going to hear some things. I wanted to take a minute before that comes out and do a kind of a PSA, a public service announcement on behalf of the survivors about how to treat survivors, what it is you're seeing, and how you can best support them. I really hope everybody can grasp the fact of what's happening here. The 90s Nation News are everyday people who have homes, jobs, that are pitching in to get this information out. Why? Because most of them have sat with us, with Allie and I, at some point in the last 2 years. Most of them have met some of her alters, and most of them have been shaken to their core and are willing to do above and beyond, as it should be, to do what's morally correct. Nobody's coming to help, it has to be us. So when you see the series come out, when you see things happening, please fight the temptation to think that everything is fine, that people have made a career out of what you're doing, what you're seeing. That's not the case. People are volunteering their time because we're facing crimes against humanity, against the children. So everybody is doing what is morally correct. What is the moral thing to do? They're volunteering their time. So don't get lost in that TV mentality. We've all been conditioned in that way. So please fight that. Don't go down that road, because that'll be detrimental to the children. Please understand that there's been no money changing hands. This is what people have stepped up to do because they've seen the truth. In the very beginning, you guys were seeing the things that had happened to us. You had seen that somebody had jumped our fence because we went live. That was our only insurance at the time, was to turn the cameras on. When that happened, many of you started contacting people that you thought would help. You started contacting the truthers, the organizations that are supposed to be helping, because that's the normal thing that we are raised to do. From there, you saw that nobody came, nobody was helping. People that sit behind a camera can do an interview, but they're not prepared to do anything past that. I already knew that because I'd already been down all these avenues and all these roads. For the past 12 years, I've been knocking down doors, contacting people. I already knew the outcome, but the world needed to see the outcome because we don't live in the world we think we do. There's so much information that we have to share with you. It's hard to get it all out, and I don't know how to make you understand that. Probably if I handed you a book, a schematic of how to build a spaceship, and handed it to you and expected you to build it, you wouldn't even know where to start. That's kind of how it feels. There's so much information. In the past 2 years, we've tried to go in some kind of an order for a specific purpose and a specific reason. And here we are now. Every time Allie had an interview, I know a lot of you were excited and thinking there was going to be help afterwards, there was going to be some kind of a resolution. It was just an interview. That's the end of it. The reason we're doing it like this, the reason the 90s Nation News everyday people stood up, volunteered their time, was because the information has to get out to the people. People have to know what's going on, who's involved, so they can stand up and fight.
There's 90s angels close by, and they're just trying to have like a slightly peaceful day before things get started and before we film, so that's always nice. It's been a really peaceful day and a peaceful time through all the crazy shit. Get off the phone for a second and just be. They just went into a store But it's like witchcraft and sage, and there's cauldrons in the window, and we good. It's there's a lot of incense and stuff like that. I can't really go in those stores because they make me sick, and my head hurts, and it triggers things, and it triggers programming and witchcraft spells and voodoo spells and other things that were set in place already, so we'll stay outside.
Most of us have preconceived notions from TV and from the media and from books and stories of what MK Ultra or DID look like. DID is Dissociative Identity Disorder. Previously was called Multiple Personality Disorder. MK Ultra learned how to weaponize DID and create slaves using MK Ultra programming. Most of us have probably seen the movie Split, Sybil, other things like that, where it depicts somebody transitioning from one personality to the next. Oftentimes it looks like this big grandiose thing, kind of sometimes like the Hulk, ripping off clothes and doing all kind of crazy stuff. That's not really the reality of that. So as you're watching and you're learning about what's gone on, what our government has done, what's gone on to the children, what's still happening to the children, I want you to wipe your slate clean of anything that you think you knew about any of those things, any notions that you have, because when you do that, it enables you to learn and to be a support to every survivor. There's survivors all around you. We're going to go over some do's and don'ts. Number one, don't try to read survivors. Don't try to read witch altars up. A lot of times the notion is to bombard them like every few seconds. Who's up? Who am I talking to? Who's up? Don't do that. Just interact with them like you would any other person. The more you are around a survivor, the more time you spend with them, you'll be able to learn the different personalities. But you don't need to inquire of them every few seconds. Who's up? Who am I talking to? That kind of gets annoying. I'm sure some of you have probably been with people that every few seconds, are you mad at me? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? After a while, that wears on you. So don't do those kind of things. Just treat them like you would any other person. In this war for the children, each one of us can do something. When Allie's series is released, you guys can all do something, whether it's being kind, whether it's being supportive, whether it's sending a prayer. You guys can all do something for the survivors. There's millions of survivors everywhere. Bullying, shaming, mocking, making fun of, discrediting, those are all things children in elementary school deal with quite prevalent nowadays. Don't let that happen to the survivors. Make a hard line that you won't stand for anybody shaming, mocking, harassing, making fun of any survivor. They've been through enough. They've been through more than enough. They've never had anybody stand and support them. They've never had anybody that they can trust. They've never had anybody come to protect or defend them. This is our time right now to do those things, to stand with survivors. So if you see somebody attacking them, belittling them, mocking them, take a hard line on that. Don't allow that. We have a Telegram page, and we have a zero tolerance policy. Nobody's allowed to be rude to survivors. You're just not. So take that stand and support survivors in any way you can. You're going to be able to meet some of Allie's altars. I want you to understand the sacrifice that is. Being that transparent is really hard, number one. Number two, it's really dangerous. Every altar that Allie has, every altar that every survivor has, was created through trauma. And it's often not just one trauma, it's hundreds and hundreds of traumas on top of each other. Every altar that you meet has more than one handler. They have more than one programmer. They have many. Each altar has many handlers and many programmers. For them to speak up, for them to make themselves known, puts a huge target on them. That's not something I want for my kid. That's nothing that she wants for herself, but it's necessary. Too many secrets have been kept for too long. Too many people have been kept in the dark that would rise up and fight against this injustice. So it's necessary to show you guys what everything looks like.
Video diary, take 3. I don't know how people are going to react, but I'm scared of how people will react. I'm scared of the backlash. We're going to be in so much more danger after, because we're just poking at everything. And I don't mean poking because everybody messed with us first, and I ignored it a lot, and I just tried to blend, and I just tried to act like it didn't happen, and I really am sorry to so many of my friends and so many that dealt with things with me and still are dealing with things, because I was so quiet for a while and I didn't know what to do, and I had to take a minute to get clean and deal with everything. So I don't know how people will react, and I don't know what to expect, but I can't believe we're doing this. And I pray that people just get it, or try to. The backlash will be insane. The people who change their script will be insane. I don't know. It's exhausting. There's no more secrets. There's no more secrets. We're going to stop holding secrets for the military experiments that have been done and how guilty they are. We're going to show you what that looks like. I can't believe I'm going to, but we are. I think people should know. It's time for people to know what that looks like. MK Ultra is real, and it's deeper than people think, and it's more than just basic book knowledge. When you actually deal with the survivor day to day, it's a lot. When it comes to dissociative identity disorder and meeting my alters, I don't know. I am going to, we've decided that you guys can meet a few. It's just like giving ammunition to someone, and it's scary, and I can't believe we're doing this, but we're doing it because it needs to be done. People need to understand, because there's millions more survivors. There's millions of other survivors that need you to understand what this is like, so that way if you do decide to try to help them, you don't hurt them by trying to fix them or something like that. So I just think, I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm scared, because I know that there will be nowhere to go after, and there are many 90s angels, and I know there's an army, and I'm gonna keep my promise, and I'm gonna send this army back towards the people who need them the most. That takes our dying breath, that's what we do, but people need to decide whether or not they're going to take a stand, what side they will stand on, what side they choose. No matter what, you need to take a stand, because if this is not a political issue, this is not a religious issue, this is not a race issue. Everybody that has to deal with sex trafficking, torture,
rape, abuse in this life is black, white, brown, Indian. It don't matter. The political reference, red and blue, guilty. If you are Christian, Seventh-day Adventist, Catholic, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe in. We all can agree that this shit is wrong. So I don't understand, but I never thought that people would get this far and listen. The question is now is will they stand?
This is our time to be selfless. This is our time to put somebody else before ourselves. This is our time to stand with survivors and do what's right. Most of us didn't have that ability when the Holocaust was happening or when black slavery was happening, because most of us weren't born. We weren't in a position to do anything, but you're in a position to do something now. So I'm asking you to stand for survivors. The Bible, 1 Corinthians 13, the Bible gives us a template of how we are to be for survivors. Love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering, love is unconditional. If we do those things, if we put survivors before ourselves and just love them with no expectation, we can change the world and we can put a stop to this. So brace up. You're about to see some things that are probably going to connect a lot of dots, that are probably going to blow your mind in a bad way, in a very sad way. I've been in a unique position to see it from a mother's perspective, to see it from an everyday person's perspective, to see it from a Christian perspective, to see it from a social worker's perspective, and to see it for somebody who's in the field of psychology. This is like the biggest kept secret. The field of psychology downplays this information. They don't diagnose. When they are kind of backed in a corner, they often misdiagnose, they mistreat, they misprescribe things for DID and MK Ultra. The field of psychology, when I graduated in 2011, was teaching that it's a very rare condition, and it's not. It's very, very common. It's a trauma response. If you have trauma, it's a trauma response. There's going to be so many people that have DID and have MK Ultra. It's gonna really shake the world when that truth comes out. They've done a lot to keep things under wraps. One of the 90s angels works with at-risk people, and she was noticing DID. And she had wrote lengthy notes about what she was witnessing and what she was noticing, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to document what you see. You're supposed to document your objective findings, your subjective findings. So she was documenting those things. When she went back later, after she had been told she was crazy and she wasn't seeing that, they had removed the notes out of the chart. That's illegal. Why would they do that? Why did they try so hard to keep this under wraps? My hope is, number one, that survivors will be seen and validated. They've suffered in silence. They've suffered alone. They've lived in the shadows because there's nowhere to turn. There's nowhere for help. There's nobody to trust. Most of us have had people in our lives that we can trust, our parents, our brothers, our sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Survivors don't have that. They've never had that. So my hope is, number one, that the world will see and begin to see them and open their arms and welcome them in and stand with them. If you're in the field of psychology, I'd like to challenge you to push back against the status quo. When we're being trained, we have the ethics pushed on us a lot. Make sure you do ethical things. In this situation, the morals and the ethics don't line up. I had to choose, and I chose my morals. What was morally correct in this situation with Allie? If you guys are working in the field of psychology, you're the last line of defense. And what I mean by that is Psychology has been corrupted. It has been corrupted to get a hold of any MK Ultra survivors, any DID, and shut it down. We revere the greats, Freud, Skinner, Erickson, all those guys, but we never stopped to think about the fact that they were doing human experiments. They were child trafficking rapists. They were doing very evil things. We are taught in the field of psychology to hold on to our ethics. Everything is about ethics. But there comes a time when your morals and your ethics don't always line up, and this is one of those times. If you are in those helping fields, this is your time to stand up. Pay attention to what you're seeing. Err on the side of the survivor. Oftentimes we're told we don't treat that. It's not a thing. You get shut down. They don't teach you about it. They don't allow it to be. But it's very common. It's a trauma response. If you have to push back, if you have to stand up, if you have to be the only one saying what you see, then please do that. There's no great money to be had off of helping MK Ultra survivors or DID survivors. There's no money to be had. There's no medication for it. There's no expensive treatments for it. It takes hard work. It takes great patience. It takes building trust, and that's timely. Nobody wants to do that because it takes too long. It's not an easy fix. But we have a world full of survivors that need help desperately, that are being misdiagnosed, that are being medicated when they don't need to be medicated. Stand up and do the right thing. Hold on to your morals. What you're going to find out soon about the MK Ultra is that every survivor has an internal system. There was an internal system created for them. I can usually tell where people are at in their journey of understanding the evil that's been done by the questions that they ask me. When people get to the point where they're asking me questions of what do they see on the inside? What are they doing on the inside? Where do they go? Then I know people are almost at the end of their journey where they finally have it. Like everything is clicking and they're understanding. Programmers have created hundreds, if not thousands, of altars in most every survivor. They have created a whole internal system, a whole internal world. The complexity of it is mind-boggling. When a programmer is creating altars and they're creating the system and they're traumatizing the child, and when the child is about to split, they create the altars. When they're doing that, they program the altars to not be seen, to not be noticed, to not come forward unless they're called or triggered to come forward. The old saying, children are to be seen and not heard, very much applies in this situation. Each altar is kind of tucked away in different places until it's time for them to be used for whatever it was they were programmed for. So for Allie and the other altars and the other kids to be coming forward and speaking out boldly is a huge deal. What you have to understand is that Allie and Riley and Teller and Reagan all have different programmers, many programmers. They all have different predators. They all have different memories. Some of their memories overlap. So when they're coming forward and speaking out, that's a huge deal. Like it's a huge deal. Every time we turn these cameras on, it's also a huge deal. Because every predator, every programmer, every encryptor, every stitcher that has had an evil hand in programming Allie sits on the other side of this camera, or sits on the other side, and they're watching. They're calculating. They're seeing which altars are up, and they recognize them. They don't have to call out their name. programmers recognize them. That makes a big threat. That's dangerous because they're the ones that programmed. They know how to do evil. They know how to trigger. So please understand what you're going to see puts a huge target on Allie and the other kids. It's not something that we wanted to do, but it's necessary. We are in a grimy war, and it's very necessary for you guys to see that.
People say that I'm the more logical one. I feel like I'm the more logical one. I take care of every damn thing. So, and here.
You're the manager in there.
So when there's complaints, I don't know what those like someone did. They complain to me. I have to fix it. So I think I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go. I think that it'll be interesting to see how it goes, because when we say everything, I think people are gonna get really angry, and it's gonna be weird, and it's gonna be worse than the first time we went viral because there's no more secrets. Well, a lot of secrets are coming out. We got so much more. There's so many secrets. There's too many secrets, countless. I don't know what's going to happen after we do it all, though, but I think people need to do something for the millions of other survivors. That's the whole point. The whole point is to see that there's millions that need help. I think everything that we've been able to say to people and give them our facts and our experiences and our stories and our bullshit, like it's easier to see that there's too many similarities everywhere else. There's other people that are going through the same thing. So
When you said millions of alters or millions of people?
Millions of people, millions of individuals, survivors that have been through traumatic experiences, sex trafficking, human trafficking, traumatic experiences. Everybody has something, a hell that they got to grow from. Everybody does. So, I mean, no matter what, people need somebody to have patience with them and to know how to treat them. Like, Mom, you had that patience with me, and I wasn't patient with anybody before. I was a shit to everybody. I never had patience for any damn body. I'm still working on that shit now, because I still have patience. I hate people. I like our people. Our tribe is great. I hate people because I didn't have patience before. But then after Mom showed me what that patience is, then it was like, oh, a lot of people need that. A lot of people need that. So it matters that people do their research and know what's going on, and not be so focused on the stuff that doesn't matter, and see that a lot of people need that patience and that kindness, and not to fix them. You don't have to fix everybody. You just have to try to have some patience for them. Like, as a special needs teacher, that was my thing. I can't stand when people are like, well, they have a disability, they can't do it. What you mean they can't do it? You don't have any freaking patience for them to be able to show them that they can do whatever they want to do. You just have to have some patience with them. Just because somebody is traumatized and broken doesn't mean that you have to fix them. They need somebody to have some patience and kindness for 2 seconds. So that's what matters. So we'll see what happens.
There were many times when I took Allie for help in the beginning, only to be told time and time and time again that she was out of the scope of anybody's practice. She was too much. They weren't trained that way. They didn't treat that. It got to the point where there was nowhere for us to go. Do the right thing. Stand with survivors.